So I guess let's just start. Like, Tadas, how does this start? Like, how do you get into this? I know your father was an agent. Is that one of the main reasons you got into it, or was it?
Kind of, so my dad was, yeah, he probably was one of the first agents, and in Lithuania for sure the first one that was kind of working in this field. He wasn't an agent. He was actually working for a big Italian agency and probably most known, Italian agent at the time. He was really controlling the market like all-time mafia times, where he was making all of the decisions of how the teams will be created and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, my dad was also before becoming working for an agency. He also worked as a sports director on second best team in Lithuania, and from that team, actually, Big Z, Žydrūnas Ilgauskas, went to
Oh,
NBA
yeah.
and to Cleveland Cavaliers, and my dad
Hmm.
was kind of the main guy on the team, helping him out. Got really close with him. So I was growing up with Big Z around the house, and
That's dope.
my dad just working in the field, and then when Big Z went to US, to play in NBA, this is when my dad kind of found out of the agent work, because up until then nobody really knew what it is.
Hmm.
And I think kind of after that he started working for the agency, then also became a scout for the same Cleveland Cavaliers. And he wasn't, he didn't really speak English, and so I was doing a lot of his like scouting reports for Cleveland, as because I went to high school in US, so I knew English well, and my dad would do the reports in Lithuanian, and now I would translate those. And but to be honest, man, like I didn't really want to be an agent for quite some time, just because of this like following the footsteps and every like
Yeah.
teenage stuff and whatever young man stuff, not really going the same footsteps and trying to do your own thing. And this was me, like all the time I was thinking the same way.
Hmm.
But it just came down to the point where my dad was kind of retiring, not happy. The situation with his employer was pretty bad, and he was losing guys that he brought to the agency.
Yeah.
So he was losing clients. He was losing the respect, let's say, in the market because of the Italian agency. And at that time I was doing my own thing, let's say. I was working as a business consultant and stuff. And but so I saw kind of like he's losing what he built for so many years, and
Yeah.
there's all these contacts that I've been around, from NBA to EuroLeague and all of the other places. And I thought, shit, I mean, it doesn't make sense to lose all of that.
Exactly.
And this is when I decided, okay, like I need to take control of this. Like we shouldn't be losing this opportunity, because it's really difficult to step into this market.
Yeah. 1,000%. And did you face any like, I mean, like in your own mental, like, because I know you have situations where you have like Michael Jordan, right? And he had three sons, and none of them could amount to kind of like where he was. Do you go through that, like trying to basically be as good or better as your father to continue the legacy on? Is that a struggle you go through?
Um, Probably it was time when everybody was calling me. So this is the son of Virgis, who's
Yeah.
my dad's name is Virgis, and he everybody thought of me as the younger Virgis, whatever. and
Hmm.
and I think we came down to the time now that he's known to be my dad, so it's vice versa. So when
Gotcha.
I took the like when I decided to go all in, I knew what I need to do to make it, let's say, in a better way than he did. And that's why I opened up my own business. That's why I wasn't working for anyone. There was a lot of stuff that I did to make sure that somehow at least I tried to avoid the failures that didn't add up to my dad's success. And but yeah, that's a good question. I think it was funny, because at some point there was an email sent to my dad, because he just recently worked for a Lithuanian basketball team as a sports director again.
Yeah.
And he got an email from one of the scouts. I think it was from the Pelicans, maybe. And he emailed my dad that, I congratulate you for achieving the biggest goal in your life, because your son Taras is now known, as the more successful person, and you are actually known as a dad of Taras instead of, he is known as a son of Virgis. So
Moscow.
that was kind of funny.
But that just continues the legacy of showing like greatness in your family. And that's a beautiful sight to see, man. I love to see it. Families continuing legacies. I like had talks with my grandmother not too long ago about like the legacy of our family and stuff like that. So it's really dope to see it like actually in person and super dope. But that's cool that you got to like really grow up around people like Big Zeke and are there any other players that you kind of like remember from your childhood?
I mean, mainly Lithuanians. We, as an agency, we were also around, Gazol brothers. So I kind of, saw some of these guys. Obviously, Sabonis was also part of the same agency group, So all of the bigger names coming out of Lithuania were actually in the same company. And then Kleza, I think LK was there too, and then also like Mano Ginobili, Gazol brothers, like
Let's
all
go.
these guys were also with the same agency, but I wasn't really around them. My dad was taking care of the Lithuanian crew.
Yeah. And you say those names, it just like shows like the tenure of European players throughout the years of the NBA and stuff. I'm just like thinking of these guys because like I watched Mano and Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and them as I was growing up. And it's really cool to like hear people who've actually like encountered these people. Like those are legends. In my opinion, Mano was a freaking dog. Like not too many more like him. That Spurs team was insane. Hopefully they can get back to it. I mean, Wemby's a good look for them, but I think they got a lot more to build on top of him to get there. So,
100%.
really, yeah, really dope. So let's get into more of like the more of you as an agent and the stuff you went through or the stuff you go through, right? I guess we could start here. You have situations like we can take last year and the last like 2 years, right? You have John Morant, who's a really electric player, but found himself getting into a lot of trouble off the court, right? How do you approach situations like this with your players?